All right, good evening. How are you?
Great.
The time is now 5, well, by my watch is 5:30, that one is wrong. I welcome you to the Emergency Service Council meeting. Today is September 17th. May we have roll call, please?
Atherton. Belmont.
Tom McHugh, President for Belmont.
Brisbane.
Cliff Lance.
Burlingame. Andrea Papajohn, present. Toma. Daly City.
And Sylvester, glad to be here.
East Palo Alto. Foster City. Susie Niederhofer, present. Half Moon Bay.
Patrick Johnson, thank you for dinner.
Hillsborough. Menlo Park. Millbrae.
Steve Rinaldi, President.
Pacifica. Christine Bull, present. Portola Valley. Redwood City. Aya Aiken, present. San Bruno.
Rico Medina, President.
San Carlos.
John Dugan here.
San Mateo. South San Francisco.
Eddie Florida, President.
Woodside.
All here.
County of San Mateo.
Lisa Gaucher here. Well, again, welcome. We want to thank the county for providing dinner. It makes a huge difference when we can have dinner before a meeting. And we also want to thank you for the gift bags. As you can see on the table, everybody should have a blue bag with some great gifts that are here for you. Next item on the agenda, number 2, is public comment, correspondence from the clerk, and announcements.
Public comment is reserved for persons wishing to address the Emergency Services Council on any Emergency Services Council related matters that are not otherwise on this meeting agenda.
So seeing that, we'll move on. We're gonna be efficient because we're gonna, as you know, if you've been in my meeting before, we start on time and we end on time. We respect your time. So let's be mindful. Number 3, action to set the agenda. We'd like to have a motion and we're gonna approve June 11th, meeting minutes.
Move to approve. Second.
Okay, did you get the 2? Okay. All those in favor? Or are you gonna do the roll call or should we just do a voice vote? Okay, all those in favor, say aye. Is there any opposed? Any abstention? That item moves forward. That takes us to item number 4, the Glenwood Camp update. And who will be giving this presentation?
Hello, Brent Norwine from CAL FIRE.
And you have 10 minutes for your presentation.
Okay, great. Perfect. Thank you, everybody. I want to thank you, everybody, for having me. I'm not sure where exactly to look at everybody, but I want to address everybody. I want to thank you for having us on behalf of Chief Wilson and Chief West, on behalf of San Mateo County, CAL FIRE, the unit. I'm here to provide an update on the Glenwood Fire Center, formerly known as the Glenwood Boys Camp. I want to just start off by giving a little bit of history on that location and timeline with CAL FIRE and working in close partnership with San Mateo County. In 2021, CAL FIRE received a budget change proposal, BCP. Everybody calls it BCP, and you're like, what does that mean? Budget change proposal. So you guys probably are always used to them, but in fire service land, we're not so much. So I just want to make sure everybody understands. In 2023, we began discussion, DGS and San Mateo County, on the acquisition of a location in La Honda area, which was identified as the Glenwood Boys Ranch. And it took a while to get through everything and get through making this lease happen. The lease was executed, I'm happy to say, in August of 2025. Currently, we are allotted and funded for 2 fire crews during peak fire season. So what does that mean? What does peak mean to CAL FIRE? Peak is designated as what formerly known as fire season. Now, we realize in California, and I think down south is a good example, that we don't have a season anymore. It's a fire year, right? And it's all the time. But that's not the way government works and the way we're funded. So we're funded for a peak and a base season right now. Now, there's some legislation that potentially could change that and change the terminology. But what that means is we're committed to providing 2 fire crews with 80 firefighters plus support staff, so close to 100 personnel, 7 days a week during peak. And peak fire season goes from March to March 15th typically to December 15th. So there's 3 months out of the year that we're not in peak, okay? So we're working through that, and that's the funding we have. And that's what we're working for. The great thing about having it at the Glenwood Boys Ranch, let's talk a little bit about that and where we're at. So with this lease coming through, currently, when I came into this position about 11 months ago, and we had an emergency housing lease. And now currently we have a long-term lease at the Best Western Hotel on Ocean Avenue in Santa Cruz. The drawback is we're in Santa Cruz, we're not in San Mateo, okay? I couldn't get bids in for the San Mateo County that came in under. Unfortunately, we have to go to the lowest bidder. So, are you hearing me okay? I'm not sure. Is everybody tracking me okay? Does it make sense? Okay, so the benefit of us going to the San Mateo into the Glenwood Boys Camp is we're closer to San Mateo. We're in San Mateo. We're there, San Mateo, to support all of your communities. And how does that work and benefit you? It allows, we're there for state response is our #1 priority for the state mission. And we're trying to keep fires on 10 acres or less. And I heard some of the gentlemen talking about some of the local fires that were like off the 280 and different things that happened last week. And it gets everybody really excited, and I understand, and there's a lot of cooperators in this area. But understand, if it's a threat to SRA, state responsibility area, we're happy to help with our resources, and that's what we want to do. We want to do the right thing for people in California, and that's our #1 goal. So we're doing those things. #2 is fuel reduction. Our #2 priority when we're not fighting fires is fuel reduction. So we want to make sure and help do fuel breaks and improve fire roads and things like that. Our target area is going to be in the San Mateo County. We work with our resource management and they figure out the projects and the priorities in our unit, meaning San Mateo, Santa Cruz, if that makes sense. Moving forward, those are our 2 priorities. Couple things and injects that we have that are going on in this area, and I've been to some of the board of supervisor meetings and had the honor and privilege of listening in. Retention for this area, like all of you face. We have the same problem. People can pass 2 and 3, 4 places to work rather than coming where we work. So we're having a retention problem. It's always hard to pay people the wage we pay, and they have to commute from so far. So those are some of the challenges we have with our staff. The facility, to give you an update on that. I'm gonna talk for a few more minutes and then I'm gonna open it up for questions. In regards to the facility, it hadn't been occupied for a long period. So we're moving ahead, we're working with the county and Bracewell, some of the contractors, some of the drain lines have been plugged. So we're having to replace a lot of the drain lines. And we're having to make it tenable because in the past it was a detention type camp. And now we're putting our firefighters in there. So there's different bargaining unit things that I have to deal with and make sure to accommodate workout facilities, things like that, that aren't such a priority when they're a detention facility. So those are some of the restraints we have. Our goal is to be in place. We were hoping October 1st at the Glenwood Boys Camp, but because of the drain issue, I'm pretty confidently optimistic. November 1st is what our target date will be. That's where I'm at on the overview of the project so far. I'd like to open it up for any questions.
Sure, are there any questions? And I can get started. I know you talked in the report there, 4 personnel there daily. Is that like a 24-hour shift? What does the shifts look like, or what would they look like?
Great question. So there's 40 people a day.
Okay,
2 hand crews is
Okay.
during peak. Is when we don't have any staffing restraints, everything, that's what we're funded for, and that's what our goal is.
Okay,
That's what that means. And the biggest limiting factor is the CSA 7 of the 4,000 gallon restriction on the facility.
Okay.
That's the max amount of water we can have for the facility. And so that's one of the limiting factors that we're having to navigate and start making sure we don't go over that allotment and violating CSA 7. So a lot of it, everybody I've talked to and tried to fact find, it's hard to get a straight answer because it was so long ago occupied. Well, we used to do this and we used to do that. It's a story of a story. So I'm trying to truth some of it. We're gonna install a meter so we can be responsible and do our part to make sure and not tax for the other occupants. I think there's 39 other occupants on
Okay.
CSA 7 to make sure that we don't wear out our welcome. I've also been working with the county on notifying them ahead of time that we were coming back. And we're gonna start using that so that we didn't tax the system as well.
thank you.
Does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay.
Are there any other questions?
Could I ask a slightly related question? Not so much about Glenwood Camp, but about Cal Fire. I just came from another meeting, wildfire preparedness, and we had a speaker who survived the CZU fire down in Santa Cruz. Her home was destroyed from embers. And she made the comment that they are all on private water. They all have wells. And she said that the homes that were survived were actually ones that went and put sprinklers from their wells to cover and clean their house, to wet their homes down. But she made the comment that Cal Water won't access these wells and these water tanks that people have on their private property. Because Cal Fire is required to replace the water after the event. Was that accurate? Is that the situation where?
So I don't know all the details, obviously, and it's her version, so I'm not sure, and she's been through a crisis, so I don't want to discount her thoughts and what she thought. Typically what happens, and I could say, I don't know in this case if they did or not. Typically, we like to try to keep from going on private water sources because they're not tested and those types of things, and they don't have a standard. But in an emergency, we will. And if we use them, if we go like multiple days and there's an extended fire like the CZU lightning complex, we will meter down and put a meter on and we'll track the water and we'll pay back the incident will out of emergency fund dollars.
And if you're not accessing people's private wells, where are you getting the water from in a situation like that where there isn't CZU?
Can we just, that is a great question. We'd like to come back to it. I know you're not prepared for these questions. This really has to do with the Glenwood camp. We want to stay there, but if we could follow up, maybe perhaps
Yeah.
get additional information. Just want to be mindful of what the agenda looks like and what
I
we're here
understand.
to discuss.
No problem.
Thank you. Sure.
Sure. So the personnel that you have at the site, so you have the seasonal crew. How many are full-time? How many are part-time? How many are volunteer?
Yeah.
And are there firefighters that are from other sources?
Great question. So we have 80, we're funded for 80 seasonal firefighters. What seasonal means, firefighter one, they can work 9 months out of the year. We have 13 engineers and captains. So there's 7 captains, 6 engineers. And I can go into what chief to do if you'd like. Okay, and then there's a battalion chief, and then there's me, a division chief that oversees the program. So- and that's it.
So, you talked about retention. So, 9 months, what do these folks typically do the other 3 months when they're not at your facility?
And when I say retention, I'm more focusing on the permanent staff, because I need the permanent staff to supervise the temporary. So the 9 month, that's not the problem. We have a 95% return rate. During that time off, a lot of them collect unemployment, get other jobs. It's a pretty great job. And they make good benefits and they have rehire rates, and then we bring it back. So I was surprised to see with us staying in hotels and other places that we were getting a 95% return rate.
Mhm.
Because a big thing about hand crews and about firefighting is building a team and doing things together. So we're really excited to get into Glenwood so that we can be together and start having our logo, our team, have one place to stand, and we had a really good return rate.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you.
Okay,
This will be the last question.
So then if you have 95% retention rate with those folks, what is the retention problem then?
the retention problem is with the permanent staff. So the captains and the engineers,
I see.
unfortunately, because of the pay. So let me explain, that's a great question, and it probably doesn't make sense to anybody in this room, so that's a great question. So firefighter one is like an entry level position, they're trying to learn to be firefighters. They go from working at, let's say, an example, 7-Eleven, and then now they're a firefighter, it's like their first job. Whereas engineer and captain positions are more seasoned, they're permanent. And so it's hard, a lot of them can't afford to live around here, so they have to drive past multiple other places to work. Whereas the entry level positions, they're just excited to get a job, and they're gonna get a job wherever they can and work that way. Does that make sense a little bit more?
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you so much, and just on behalf of this board, thank you for all that you do. You know, CAL FIRE's been doing a lot of work in our state. We see the fires, we know that you're on the front line, so we appreciate all that you do.
You're welcome,
Thank
we enjoy it, and we're really excited to be here in San Mateo County, so thank you for having us,
Sorry.
appreciate it.
All right. Joint exercise of power agreement updates, Rudy.
Thank you, council. Good evening. We are very excited to say that every city and every town has gone through their processes to approve the Emergency Services Council JPA. It is technically formally approved, but we are going to send it back out to all of your city and town managers for a final DocuSign sign off, so we can have a permanent place, a record of the signing. So that's my update.
So how do you track those? So when you let the members know once their city has returned that document, or how would we know?
We will make sure every city signs it.
Okay, no, I mean, it would be good if we knew
Yeah.
once it was signed, because if it isn't, then you can go and track your city manager.
We will make
Okay,
sure
thank
you
you.
are informed.
Next item is director's year-end review.
So, it's been a remarkable year for us. We have had, such a transition, and it's really thanks to this council that has done some of that pre-work. For example, you all, before my time, thought about evacuation planning, all hazard evacuation planning. And while we were doing that work, we realized we needed to do the alert and warning work, which is the ABCs of evacuation, right? And so we really delved deep and we looked at alert and warning, community outreach. Again, part of that all hazard evacuation planning, what do people need to know beforehand? Training and exercise, and then real world examples. And feel free to follow along with me, on your, annual report. Alert and warning, you'll hear a little bit more about this later today. It has been our pinnacle project, and the reason is when there is an emergency, minutes matter, and we want people to pay attention. And so how are we doing this across the county together, 32 agencies, 500 people that have standing rights? How do we standardize it? And so we were very lucky that we had Dr. Jeanette Sutton, who is world-renowned researcher, who was able to assist us in getting our alert and warning templates updated. So we updated 40 different templates, and they are research-based. So they don't say things like, think about X, Y, and Z. They say things like, leave now. Very action-oriented, and they really speak to that part of your brain that then talks to you, that really works during emergencies. And so it's not just, here's the templates and we're done. It's how do we socialize this around all the agencies, and then how do we continue to provide training and resources so we can get it right? And so as you can see, we've done a lot of training, a lot of exercises. Tomorrow, we're having a huge two-part training. One is for the operators, so people that send out the alerts, really thinking through the messaging, really thinking through what elements of the messaging need to be there. And then the second part is really for the policymakers in each of your towns and cities. And what that means is that you are getting to decide what the countywide policy is on alert and warning. When do you get an SMC alert versus when do you check on Nextdoor? And once we finalize that together tomorrow, I will be taking that to the city managers to getting their, sign off. And then we will create a social media campaign around that. So I'm foreshadowing a little bit of the presentation, but there's so much work here to be done in the next year. This is not just, we're done with alert warning. We are actually building capability and capacity. And this was actually recognized, not just in national news, but also in international news, including the Atlantic. Community outreach. We went from a couple of years ago having disaster preparedness day and events here and there to really looking at the community as a whole. We need to meet the community where they are, and we need to do it in their languages. And that was a really huge realization for me when my first disaster preparedness day last year, we had a monolingual Arab family that came to the booth, and we had no programming for them.
Oh, wow.
Thank God we had someone on the staff who spoke Arabic. And so she took them along and was able to provide the information they need. They were really looking for the information. They wanted to be prepared for disasters, and we weren't ready. And so what we have done is meet our community where they are, right? So about a little bit 2 years before, we were also monolingual within our agency. Now we speak 5+ languages collectively, and we're able to provide that support to our community. And pretty much most of our materials are in, at minimum, English, Spanish, and Chinese. And we are able to do special programming if needed in other languages. And so that was very special to me. And we really increased our presence in our communities. And that is in each one of your towns and cities. So we've had 32 different outreach events, minimum. And we continue to take from each of your communities what their needs are and really understand. And to be able to do that, we really need to understand what our community needs. And so we've designed a survey for your community. And we would like you to, I will be sending this to all the city managers, the police chiefs, and the fire chiefs. This is a community survey. These things can be left out in public places. It's to really understand what the community needs before, during, and after disasters. So we can create a roadmap and we can understand what the communities are either prepared, they're not prepared, and what the gaps are, and work towards building those gaps. Please take this and share it with your city managers. They will also be getting it through an email from me, and you will also get it through an email. Training and exercise. Training and exercise is critical in emergency response. When a brain is stressed, it's hard for it to reach out to the executive function. So training regularly and exercising with our partners really builds that capability so we can access those executive critical thinking skills. And so we've done about 17 events this year. And that is with all of your stakeholders. It's been everything from wildfires to weapons of mass destruction to flooding and earthquake scenarios. And one thing that we have done differently this year is we've started including all of our CBOs. So last year, what we did was we started building relationship with our CBOs. Now we're including them in our exercises. So there was a fantastic CBO exercise just a month ago about the tsunami on the coast. And it was really all the CBOs that participated with first responders, which is quite spectacular. to see. Real world responses don't stop. We continue to prepare, but we have all kinds of responses from fires and supporting each one of your communities with hazmat response and things that are big like tsunami, whether it's coming or not. It's a response that we do follow up with. So we've had 16 events since last September to end of August. That is my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Shruti? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to make mention, Dr. Shruti, I just basically read this and I highlighted page number 9. And I did it ahead of time when you spoke about it, so I'm very impressed. I'm sure moving forward in the future, because of your foresight, the question is always asked, well, can we have it in another language? We won't have to ask you that question because the first paragraph talks about multilingual. So I want to say kudos for that. And I wonder, although not a requirement, I wonder how many other organizations can proudly tout the fact that the emergency management staff, over 50% speaks another language. Not a requirement, but this is a good thing to know. So I want to give you kudos for that. And lastly, on the multilingual, on the items you brought up, and made a quick note, which kind of segues into the last part about the update on the MOU. You said police and fire chiefs. I'm glad that we learned prior to the MOU, we have left them out before. And we had to do it all over to make sure that they have a voice as well. So I just want to say outstanding work that's being done. And I'm very happy to see it and hear it. Thank you.
Thank you. Council member, are there any other questions? I'm gonna look at Rose and see if there's any public comment. Public comment. Trudy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We might as well stay there because I believe now you're gonna go over the 26th meeting calendar. And this will require voting.
So, we have diligently picked out, the next year's calendar, dates and times. We want you to take a look at them, and we have moved this back to its original position, which was on Thursdays. I know there was a conflict for, some of you, and it was just hard to see many of you who are really wanting to participate in this, not being able to participate. So thank you for your patience, for hanging on a year, to come back to Thursdays again. So, I'm open to any questions around the calendar dates.
Yes, Paul.
Is this the last meeting of this year?
This is the last one.
This is all.
There won't be another meeting in February 19th, but next, that's a pretty long time to go.
Yes, there's 2 reasons for that. One is, we usually have a meeting to, onboard the ESC, the new members. So this is that time to be able to do that. And usually, the finance committee, you know, because of holidays and everything, the finance committee meets ahead of time. And if there are pending things that they discuss, then they have to bring it back.
Quick question, I'm the alternate, so it doesn't affect me quite as much, but, did you kind of coordinate, did you check the schedule for CCAG and PCE? They're also good.
I don't know that we did not do that.
CCAC meets the second Thursday, so I just checked, the PC is the 4th Thursday, I believe. So we're good.
Thank you for that question.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say, Paul. Mr. Vice Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Paul, and if there were a need that was deemed, certainly we could call a special meeting of this body if there were something that had occurred or was of interest or necessity to us and or the county.
thank you. Yes.
So, Our council meets on the first and third Thursdays. I know it's probably, you have so many people, you're trying to coordinate, but it looks like that's the case here. That they're on the third, or is it the second? Thursday?
It's usually the third
Third,
Thursday.
yeah.
That's a busy day for me too, for my committees, but.
Yeah, I like the Wednesday, but if we can keep it, I would love it, but I see some folks shaking their heads like, nah, I'll put it back to Thursday, so. Yeah, just putting it out there. I don't know if Brisbane will be able to participate at this level.
What time is your meeting?
6:30. They're a little far away.
Zoom, good old Zoom.
No, we moved it this year because I have BCDC and ABAG on Thursday, so I will probably have to give up this committee so that you can meet on Thursdays. Because that's when BCDC and ABAG, it doesn't change for me with those committees. Yeah. But now we're,
Sorry, one quick question. Is there quite a bit of opposition to change it from Wednesday to Thursday right now? Because it seems like Wednesday works fairly well to get us all over here.
I see a few people,
I can't comment, I think Burlingame.
Yeah, council meeting.
On Wednesdays?
Yeah, second and fourth.
Total Valley, has it, well, it's a 7 o'clock, so.
You're dedicated.
We can look at the first Thursday.
Then that would conflict with the second and fourth that I'm hearing.
Or the first.
So you're the first and third, sorry. And CCAG's the second
Second.
Second,
and
Second Thursday.
Okay.
And then PC is the fourth Thursday.
yes, and I'm on PC.
But PCE is later, isn't it? Isn't it at 7 or
6:30.
6:30?
All right, but we have to take a vote on this today. So if you've seen the agenda, this is for Thursdays, starting in 26. Should we do a roll call, just vote?
We can do roll call.
Let's do roll call for this.
Atherton,
How do we do?
Yeah.
Give me a motion
I'll
to
move to
accept.
approve.
Second,
I'll second.
all right. That's San Carlos and South San Francisco. All right,
all right, Belmont,
Aye.
Brisbane,
I'm gonna say no, just because I want to try and stay on this body.
Burlingame,
Yes.
Daly City,
Then Sylvester, aye.
East Palo Alto,
No.
Foster City,
Yes.
Half Moon Bay,
I'm gonna say no.
Millbrae,
No.
Pacifica,
I don't care.
Portola Valley,
Yes.
Redwood City,
Yes.
San Bruno,
Yes.
San Carlos,
Yes.
South San Francisco,
Yes.
Woodside, County of San Francisco.
no. But it passes. Thank you. So that is the schedule for 2026. So we'll move back to Thursdays. Thank you for the participation. We're now gonna move to item 8. This is the alert and warning presentation and discussion. This should be a 20-minute presentation, and then we'll have a few minutes for discussion. 20 minutes.
Thank you. I'd like to present Dr. Jeanette Sutton, the forewarned expert in alert and warning in the country and probably worldwide.
Thank you. That's a high esteem. It's just like to raise myself to that level. It's really nice to be here with you tonight. I have prepared some slides to share with you a little bit about what we know about alerts and warnings and why the process that San Mateo has put into place is, it's excellent. It demonstrates an evidence-based approach to doing alerting and warning better than most places in the United States.
Just my background, where you can find me, I have a small company called The Warren Room. I'm also an associate professor at the University of Albany in upstate New York. So when you look at these messages, I can guarantee that you can pick out the good ones and the bad ones. Even without being experts. And as you look at them, I want you to think to yourself, if your family was at home and they received one of these messages, what would they do? Who would they talk to? Now, if one of those messages was sent to your city or your district, what would you do? And these are the questions that we've been addressing through an audit of the messages, the historical messages of San Mateo, and also through the templates that have been built in the 40 different hazards that are now available to all of your jurisdictions. We know that there are many different types of bad alerts that are sent. We know this because we've done the research and we have the evidence. We just completed a study that examined how people define over alerting and what bad alerts are that contribute to this phenomenon of over alerting. We know that messages that are not geographically specific are bad, especially if they don't include the location information of impact. When messages are issued at the wrong time of the day, when people cannot take action because it doesn't require an action. When it's sent for an event that doesn't require action, it's just a notification, an informational message. When it's a false alert, like the ICBM missile alert that you saw on the screen, everyone remembers Hawaii. Messages that are incomplete. They don't give you enough information about what the hazard is, who it's from, where it's located, what the hazard is doing, and what you should do to protect yourself and when. When messages are filled with incomprehensible jargon, one of the messages you saw said, level 3 go. Most people would not have a clue what that was for, and it didn't tell you what the hazard was. Was it for a flood or for a wildfire? That language is not used in San Mateo. That was from another part of the country. And messages that are sent for a threat that doesn't matter to you. You simply don't care. And we know what happens when bad alerts are issued. First, people complain loudly. So we actually know what you would do if one of those messages were issued in your jurisdiction, because you would hear about it. The information circulates on social media. People share their lack of happiness about a message. It also decreases trust in the organization. It decreases trust in messages that might be issued the next time. Sometimes people lose jobs. And also people have to make a decision about whether or not they're going to pay attention to the message the next time it's issued, and if they're going to make a decision about taking an action in response to that message. Sometimes they will disregard the message, and in the worst case, they will choose to turn messages off, and then you cannot reach them. But we also know how to fix it, because we have 5 decades of research on emergency alerts. I've spent my last 25 years of my career working on this topic, and so that's what we've spent the last few months working on with San Mateo County. There are 5 elements that we know needs to be included in a message, and now every message in your templates includes these 5 elements. It says the source, the hazard, and what the hazard is doing, the location of the threat, provides guidance for what people should do to protect themselves, and says something about the timing of the message. Messages are also constructed in a style that's very clear. Messages are complete, they include all 5 elements. They are consistent, so they are always structured similarly. They contain language that's very certain, and of course they will be accurate. You have these next 2 slides, I'm gonna just skip over them because we have been doing a ton of research to back up everything that I'm saying today. I'd be happy to share those articles with you if you like to read academic articles. These are examples of the messages that we audited and the new templates that go along with those hazards. This is an example of a law enforcement message that was issued in San Mateo. On the left-hand side, you can see that the message is a bit incomplete, it's lacking some details. On the right, you see an example of the new template for a law enforcement message. It starts with the source, it's followed by the hazard, and impact information, followed by location and the time. And then it gives instructions on what people should do to protect themselves. It also directs people to a credible, authoritative source for additional information and tells people where they can go to get additional information. We've done the same thing for evacuation. In this case, the evacuation orders include the type of hazard that an evacuation is ordered for. It gives specific instructions on how to evacuate an area. And it also includes additional information about the location. And in this case, for a wildfire, we include check your zone at Genesis because that is a tool that is available to your populations. Another example for wildfire, similar structure. So you see the consistency of the way the message is structured. You also see visually in all of these, there was a use of all caps, and that is intentional because it helps to break up the text and it also draws your eyes to it. It makes it much easier to read, much more visually easy. And then we've also developed post-alert messages, which are what you would call an all clear message. When the communication loop is opened, it also has to be closed. And the worst case scenario is when a person does not receive the closure of that communication. The best case is when they're told that the threat has ended and that they can return, or they can conclude what they've been doing, or they can resume something. And then adding additional information about how to return or to conclude. So we've fixed bad messaging by creating templates, building training, and we're working on policy. And I'm going to turn this over to Shruti to finish up.
So what we've delivered so far to all of your towns and cities is we had an alert warning seminar, the message library that is there for all of you to look at, even on our website. And we're still kind of getting the message right. So for example, we had active attacker or active shooter message that the police chiefs were interested in doing a better job with it. And so we're working with them to see what that better message would look like. So this is a continuous improvement. We built step one, the foundation. We're going to continue to build. You know, after we did this, we saw that there were people that were using the template a little differently than we would like them to do. So we put out a training video, which was very short, a couple of minutes, Lalo? 8 minutes. 8 minutes. And then technical assistance with Lalo, we had office hours with Lalo, or there's quite a few people that can provide that technical assistance. When do we do X? When do we do Y? What information? So that has all been done. Our next step for the next year is how do each of these 32 agencies get ready? We need them to be ready and prepared to send a message where they're not thinking about the message. It becomes rote. It becomes what we call instinct, right? And that comes with practice. So they have the template. Tomorrow, we're doing a lot of practice with them. It's hands-on, paper and pencil. We're going back to paper and pencil. And then eventually at the end of the presentation, they will get to do it online. So hopefully no one sends out any messages tomorrow. That's my biggest fear. But continuing to get them to have that skill, hone that skill, and practice that skill every month so they are able to pull up the template, plop in the things that they need from the incident commander, and be able to send out that message. Continuous training, tools, and then on-demand support. We are here really to support each of those agencies, all of your towns and cities, plus special districts that do have sending rights. What we're doing tomorrow afternoon specifically is really looking at a pyramid of information, what information is and what warning is, and all the ways we are able to send information. Who sends the information? So role clarity. Did first responder do this? Does a PIO do this? Does emergency management do this? Does DPW do this? Who sends out these messages in what time frames, and overlaying that with geography, time, and really building that out collectively, taking that to the city managers, the police chiefs and the fire chiefs. That's upcoming work that we're gonna be doing. And then once we have finalized that together, the idea is to then create a public information campaign. So when then you get an alert, you know that the mountain lion sighting is coming on next door, but a road closure on the coast is coming on SFC alert for a very specific road. So there are very specific examples, and then the public can just take, so they're not afraid of using different channels to get their information, and we're not afraid of sending warnings. We really need to differentiate the information versus warning piece. And so that is what we're doing. Questions?
Any questions? Paul, I saw your hand raised first, then John.
So the, first, thank you for the presentation, and, so I live in Woodside. About 3 weeks ago, we had a fire, the Edgewood fire on the 280 by Kenyatta College. I may have been the first or second person on the scene, because my house is just a couple hundred yards away. By the way, the response from the fire and the sheriff's department were unbelievable within seconds. There were helicopters and airplanes, and they got control of the fire pretty quickly. But I have to be honest here, and I think that, there's probably no bigger fan of DEM than I am. But the system fell short. The alert system really fell short that day. And I think that this is a really important issue. I know you don't disagree. We've had conversations since then, and I'm very happy of where we landed here, but I'm not gonna ignore what happened a few weeks ago. It failed on a lot of levels, and Dr. Sutton, you went through it. It was a textbook example of all the things that went wrong for us. And the reason that I consider this so important and why I'm speaking now is because I do think of the SMC alert system as the cornerstone of DEM. I mean, it's really, everything starts there, and we've encouraged our citizens to enroll. We've all gone out and said, you gotta get on the system. I've done it myself, and we depend on it, and it's the gospel. I mean, when you get something from SMC Alert, it's not next door where there's lots of, we know that, it's not Facebook, and it's the real McCoy, it's authentic information. And so when this fire started, we're all kind of waiting for the alert, and what happened was, I'll be very brief here, some people in the targeted area didn't get a message at all. Some people outside the target didn't get it or got the message. I received the template. So you saw the template with all the brackets with fill in the name of the venue, whatever. That's what I received. So it didn't say anything. It just told me fill in the name and fill in. So, I mean, it was a little bit concerning. So just as Dr. Sutton said, we got a lot of complaints, and the reputation was seriously impacted. I mean, we had a couple dozen people at our city council meeting, and I got a lot of emails, and of course we spoke after they did a lot of correspondence between them. So as you said, there's 32 agencies and 500 centers. I think that this was more, and I think we agree on this thing, it's more an issue of training, and people are on different pages, but like any emergency system, it has to be exercised. And I'm glad to see all these changes that are being instituted. I think it's gonna address the problem. We never got it all clear, by the way, at the end. Nothing was issued, so people didn't know, is the fire out? What am I supposed to do? And then the fire embers did go over the highway and affected some homes. So there were people waiting. There's lots of backup systems, including having sheriff deputies out there to evacuate people. We were pleased with that, but people are like, they're waiting with their phones to see what's going on, and we didn't get that information. So anyway, I'm glad to see the bottom line here. Sorry to take up so much time. Is that I think the director has addressed the issue. I'm glad to see the training. The system needs to be exercised so people know what they're doing. The number of senders, people who are retired were senders who shouldn't have credentials, just to make sure that it's being done right, because it's just such a critical system for everybody. And until you're sitting there watching your house, wondering whether you should soak it down as embers are flying around you, it really, getting that message is really essential. So I'm happy to see the response. The response was fantastic and I appreciate that. But some remediation does have to be instituted, I think.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. And then we're gonna come over to, it was John, then I had Tom, I saw another hand. Okay.
Yeah, thank
Susie.
you. Terrific, presentation. Really appreciate this effort. I mean, I can't imagine a better, for everything you guys went through, I can't imagine a better system to really, analyze top to bottom best practices. I appreciate the live, examples of, an example of what we might have sent out a couple years ago and what the new template does. My question is, I see a lot of bracketed language in these templates, which that is all great, but perhaps that's ideal. Is there any tension between all this additional information and the timing and pacing at which we can get these alerts out?
Except for me, for you.
Yeah. Sometimes not all of the fine details are available, but the information that's contained in the brackets is the information that people need. And without that information, they will go looking for it somewhere else to answer their questions. And so absent all of the information, that URL becomes very important. And sometimes warnings, it takes a while to get all of the clear and accurate information, but we strive to give all of that information because without it, it will delay people's actions.
So we will hold a message until the full template is complete. That's the best practice.
You
Unless
could
a
delete,
common sense decision maker steps in.
you could delete parts of the message. And the
Like-
reason we have 32 agencies that have sending rights is so someone on the scene is able to be right next to the incident commander and fill out all those pieces and send out that information. And so if you don't have that information, it's okay to delete parts of it, but in general, what happens is that when people are not getting the complete message, for example, evacuate now, there's a fire. Right? Where is the fire? People wonder that,
Yeah.
right? And so I think, or where did he go to? Right? I don't have a place to go to. Where am I going to? Right? And so this forms a complete message. And so when, this is not a simple question to answer. When someone deletes parts of it, they need to come back and say, do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. Is that training down to the message sender, or do you guys operate in a quality control role in this process?
We do not right now do quality control.
Okay,
We are hoping that every one of your agencies, whether that's fire, law enforcement, or city, is doing its own quality control before they're sending out the message.
okay. Because, I'll just share this experience. Work as a corporate attorney, I'm actually in documents with brackets all the time. It's a best practice of mine to do a final search for brackets before I send work product out. And I'm just curious, is there anything automated we can do to make sure no message ever goes out with one of these brackets just sitting there? Because if someone gets, bracket location instead of an actual location, that'll probably be more upsetting than receiving no location.
I completely agree. That is what happened in this case.
Oh,
Just full brackets is what they got in one of the templated messages. It was just the template itself. It didn't actually have the location or anything. And so, but I think that was an email and the text message actually had everything in it.
That's correct.
And so there's not a way to automate it. It's a user needs to look at it and confirm that there's no brackets. So unfortunately, a lot of the emergency management systems that do the sending don't have these functionality and are
That might be worth a feature request, but.
we can definitely do a feature request.
So we are currently working with our vendor to whenever there's brackets in a message and it gets sent or tries to get sent, it will stop the message from being sent.
Okay.
So at this time, we are working with our vendor to bring in that process, so alerts will get sent out with brackets.
Thank you.
That was also a lesson learned from 2 weeks ago.
Thank you.
Very quickly, because I got a bail here. I used to live in Tornado Alley. And the agencies there always, very consistently for years, had issued tornado watches, and tornado warnings. And a watch said, the conditions are right for tornadoes to form, so pay attention, be more, alert, but you don't need to do anything right now. Listen to your radio. If they issued a warning, it was like, there's a tornado near you right now, go to shelter right now. And everybody got very used to that terminology. In a couple of the examples, it seemed to me that the term warning was used for something that was really a watch. So I would encourage a little better differentiation there.
Can I answer that?
The second thing is, in some of the examples, the first thing that was listed was the name of the agency. That should be the last thing listed. The message should say, leave now if you are near this address. There is a fire. And third, this is issued by whatever agency is issuing it. Thing the person needs to know the least is the name of the agency issuing the warning. And I
We're
got
gonna comment.
Pardon me?
Did you want to comment or?
So the language that is utilized for evacuation warning and evacuation order is required by Cal OES. And therefore, that language, which is in conflict with the way that the National Weather Service uses it, we have attempted to address that inconsistency by providing plain language interpreting what it means that it's an evacuation warning, by telling people this means to prepare to leave, and an evacuation order means it is leave now. So this is an issue of inconsistency at the state level and the county trying to align itself with it. And the order of the message, I appreciate your comments about that. I only speak from the evidence that we have gathered from doing experiments and other social science research with public participants. And the evidence we have is that people need to know that it's coming from a credible source before they'll pay attention.
I'm an advertising person would not do it that way.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Would you?
Really quickly, I'm sorry if I missed this. You talked about tomorrow's training. Who is invited to that training? Is it the police chiefs and fire chiefs of everything?
So the morning portion is for anyone that's an operator, which is like tactical, you're sending the message, you're thinking about it. Other people were invited, like PIOs. The afternoon is really policymakers. So, whatever agency you're from, whether you're a city, you're sending your assistant, deputy chief, or you're sending someone from the CEO's, your city manager's office. So it's mostly people that have been given the authority to make the decisions, and some of the people from the morning session are also staying over. Thank you.
Trudy, how was this information sent to the cities, and have you received information back from everybody, every city that's at the table? So I think we would all want to make sure that we have representation at the table.
Every single city and town is coming,
Okay.
and the county, obviously, that would be us.
I get that part. But I just want to, I can imagine you would all have that question, like, and would this council be invited to learn as well? I don't know if others would have, if they have time to participate.
I think we want the policymakers to have a place to engage. I think once we take this process through with the fire chiefs, the police chiefs, and the city managers, we can bring this back to the council.
Through the chair, or to your point, just for visibility, CCing us.
Right.
So that we then can follow up with our city manager to ensure that there is representation for each one of us.
Great, thank you. I think what happens sometimes, we have meetings and we do things and we forget that this is a board and a council, and individuals should know that somebody's reached out to their city and you're not learning about it the day before an event. So just utilizing the individuals at the table, making sure you're keeping everybody in the loop. would be helpful.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I just had a couple other comments. I also, at Pensacola Valley, I was definitely affected as well by the 280 fire. And I got my notification within minutes from Watch Duty, the app, which is kind of a voluntarily run. And I actually went ahead and sent out a message to my entire community about this. I didn't get an SMC alert for at least half an hour about it. And the other thing that you should be aware of is people in the community listen to the fire channels and the sheriff's channels all the time. And the messages that come through those channels are utterly incomprehensible, just utterly incomprehensible. They have all sorts of weirdo jargon. It's impossible to understand. So if we don't get an official message from SMC, then, you know, you're trying to figure out, gosh, do I need to evacuate? This is literally a mile away from where we are, you know? So it was really tough to deal with. So, and then the other comment I wanted to make, I was in Greece this summer and there was a fire, yet another fire really close to where we were staying. And my family lives near Mati, and I'm sure many of you heard about the tragedy in Mati a few years ago where like 100 people were killed. Greece has learned a lot since that time, and particularly that area near Athens has learned a lot. I was in Greece with my American cell phone. I got an alert. I have never signed up for alerts in Greece. I got an alert to my cell phone because they knew I was within a certain range of where this fire was. I didn't have to sign up. SMC alert requires people to sign up. There's no reason really that for that necessity, given technology's capability of being able to send out alerts to all the phones that are in an area. So I think we kind of need to think about extending the system to enable that in the future.
May I make a comment?
Sure.
So thank you for your comments. For your first comment, I want to let you know that we have worked with both of the sending agencies that did send out SMC alert, and we have rectified the situation. And provided training. And we're gonna continue providing training. Second part is this fire was not really a big fire. It was about 10 acres. And, you know, although there was some minor evacuation, we can't send out an SMC alert to 10 people, which was 10 houses. What we can do is collectively, the 32 agencies can send out messages to certain geographic location with a little bit of an overspray. So we have the ability to do that. Fire did send out a message making sure that everyone knew that there was not going to be like massive evacuation. And if we had to evacuate, we would have used the same exact thing that Greece used, which is wireless emergency alerts. Wireless emergency alerts, so you all have received Amber Alerts? Yes? It's an opt-out system. So if you are connected to a cell tower, you will get that alert if you are in that geographic location, or if you're coming in and out of that geographic location. So we draw a polygon and we say, okay, so you would get that alert. So we have that system, and we know that it works because every one of you has gotten an Amber Alert. We do want people to sign up for SMC Alert because there are parts of every single one of your towns that does not have cell coverage. So you may be connected to Wi-Fi in Portola Valley at your home, but you're not connected to your cell tower, which means you're not getting the wireless emergency alert. But you will get the SMC alert.
Okay, great.
Right, so it's a redundant system. So we want all of these redundancies to be in place.
Well, thank you. Are there any other questions? I had another, just another question in general. I think sitting on the council would be nice if we received an email. Just in general, representing this emergency council, everything's okay. That would have closed the loop for us. because a lot of times we will get the questions. If you don't get the alerts, they're gonna reach out to us. So in the future, if that's possible, to say, hey, everything's okay, or something to this body who's represented, it would be helpful as well. Because I don't know who when an emergency happens, from your office, is there somebody on call, on deck, who's monitoring it as well?
Yes, absolutely. We have people on site and backup. So during this situation, we had 2 or 3 layers. So we had one person, David, over there, that was actually on their computer. We had filled out the entire WIA message, wireless emergency alert. We had Genesis ready to go to actually send out those messages. They were already filled out, ready to go. If fire and law enforcement said, we're gonna evacuate. So that was all prepared. We had Rick on site, and then backup from Ryan and I, as well.
Yeah. So just some communication loop to this council who's representing emergencies
Absolutely.
would
We
be
can do
helpful. Let's make sure we're closing the gap.
I had just sort of a follow-up on that, just kind of thinking about the small fire at 280. You know, those of us that are on the other side of 280 that are in the WUI, you know, we saw Altadena, we saw Santa Monica, we saw that, where we don't have Santa Ana winds, thank God, but you know, anything could happen. So we in Portola Valley are just sensitized to any kind of fire, whether it's in Palo Alto, Trocadero, whether it's Woodside, whether it's us. We're just, the expectation is gonna come roaring through the dry lands and the dry brush and come at us. So I understand that in the department and then the fire and all the people didn't feel that it was a risk to Portola Valley. Portola Valley, however, was scared out of our minds.
Yeah.
And it would have been helpful to have a message that said, you know, fire over here in Woodside on 280, you know, whatever. No need to evacuate Portola Valley, not coming in this direction. I don't know, some sort of thing that sort of allayed the fear level. So I don't know if that's even possible.
We can definitely broach it with each of your cities and towns to be able to do that. Again, the information advisory sending is really dependent on the 32 agencies. They have the sending rights, right? So we are unable to step over them and say, you know, fire department, we're gonna send out this alert. So we can definitely broach that conversation with them. I hear you. I know this is important, especially to those that live in the WUI area, because you've seen it, and you know, a lot of people just leave even when they see, like, especially that fire produced a lot of smoke because it was burning down eucalyptus and the oils produce a lot of smoke. So I recognize what you're saying, and we can definitely broach that issue.
Thank you. Cal Fire.
I just wanted to make a comment to the group, and I hear just to bring things together, because I've done multiple evacuation orders and warnings when they're going on. And something I just wanted to address to the group that I thought might be beneficial for your knowledge is there's a lot of injects coming in, and you want to create the correct message. And I just can't focus on that enough. I know everybody wants to know now, and that's the information age we're in, but just understand you're trying to put out a fire, and there's a lot of things happening. And there's a lot of things changing and evolving, and you want to put out those warnings and you want to put out those orders. But it takes time to get that, and you don't want to just get a message out. So I just think it's important to understand that it's important to validate, like they're saying, as you're going through the moment. I just want to speak out from the fire side when you're putting those out, and they're very serious, and to support all of you. So I just want to put that perspective, just hearing all of you, because I think it's important that you understand that too.
I think they get that, but I think when I'm hearing from my colleagues around the table, when there's a fire in your house, you know, people want to know what's happening as soon as possible. So to make sure that you're speeding that up so that you can get the information out. There were a lot of nervous people trying to figure out, and if there had been a wind and that fire had taken off, you know, you're used to fire, so you know it's a small fire. Most other people aren't gonna know it's a small fire. It's a fire. The grass is dry. And we don't know what's gonna happen. So I think that's yes.
Real quick, just to go into what Chief said, So my mother lived in Paradise in 218. So she did get the evacuation eventually. It was a phone call, but it seemed safe until it jumped Feather River. And it was unknown. Do you hit the buttons and just take everybody out on the roads? They were already impacted. So I do understand what you were saying and the sensitivity to everybody, you know, I've had the 210 explosion and I've had the 218 personal sifting through ashes at the house that we lost in Paradise and seeing that community. But at the same time, they didn't just send out a message and evacuate, because at that time they were gathering the data. The wind had not picked up. So do you just take everybody and flood them out? And again, the town of Paradise has a higher population, more of a population than the city of Millbrae. So it's not a little town, and it's very spread out. So I just want to bring that food for thought for having to understand that a little bit, that it is hard when you get there and you just don't want to panic and flood everybody onto the roads.
Well, and I want to make useful information and I want to do the best thing for everyone.
Yes.
Right, and that, so I just wanted to bring up that point. I don't want to sound insensitive to
Right.
people's concerns. I just wanted to bring that perspective up for the group.
And you're the expert. We appreciate your expertise.
No problem.
I see a hand raised in the back. I'm sorry, Rose.
No, we hadn't called for public comment just yet.
Okay.
So.
Are there any other comments from my colleagues? Yes.
So, Dr. Trudy, I remember when we had the tsunami in Half Moon Bay and then the alert went out and that became a major ordeal because everybody flooded in 92 and we left. And I remember we had a bunch of meetings at the brewery or whatever it was, and Ray Mueller was there. And there was a lot of input at that meeting, and I think there was a couple more, and I saw it in the packet, you had like 16. Was there enough data and was there a lot of changes after that? That was a year ago, if I remember right. And have we gotten better? Because that was the main thing. Everyone fled to the hills, went to the high school, and went down 92.
That was December 6th. We listened and heard our public say exactly what they wanted to hear, what a message wanted, what their message should look like. And one of the biggest things they said was, we don't know where to go. We have no idea where to go. And so what we've done is we created the tsunami viewer. Many of you will know there was a tsunami advisory recently in the last 6 weeks. We had 78,000 people go to that viewer. So those people that didn't know where to go before now knew where to go. And so although we cannot change what the National Weather Service does, we can provide more nuanced information to our public and to us. You know, the advisory recently, we actually did not get any complaints, which was very astonishing to me. So it does seem like what we have done has worked.
Well, I think also the issue that we were having, and I don't know if we have answers to, is because we only have Highway 1 and 92. So we only have one way out, or three ways out, if you go south, north, and 92 out. And that was a problem because everybody shot over the hill, and we didn't really know what to do or where to go. And then the other place that we were supposed to go is the high school, not the whole town, but high school. So I don't think we have everything figured out, but I'm hoping that we have more than we did before.
So we know where people can go now, right? And so that I think is a big improvement over whether it's, you know, walking 3 blocks up to your friend's house, but not going downhill, right? Like a lot of people that live on the hill actually went down and were trying to leave the area, and they were actually now in a tsunami hazard zone. So that's changed. So but in terms of where they can go, that is a personal plan. There are some areas on the coast that are, that can be temporary evacuation centers, and those have been identified through our all hazard evacuation planning.
So like I told my wife, and I have a handicapped child in a wheelchair, so of course she wants to go to the high school. That's where my daughter is. But I told her, you could go across, because we live on the west side. You can cross the Highway 1 and go up into the hills, just take Brand Boulevard up and get up there. So there is that whole, because you're at the high school's here, Grand Boulevard's here, it's the same elevation, basically get up the hill is what I'm trying to say. And we could probably, tell, a lot of people just should know that, you just need to get up the hill for the tsunami.
Absolutely.
As not as opposed to just the high school is the only place.
Yes, so our message, our tsunami message before said, seek higher ground. Now we just say move up the hill. Yeah, so I think we were very fortunate to actually see our return on investment, where many people had no place where they could get information to make those decisions, and now 78,000 people in those 3 days were able to look at it and make decisions.
Perfect, thank you. Are there any other questions? Can we take public comment, please?
Is it time for public comment? Any on?
There's one hand raised.
Excuse me. Good evening, everybody. My name is Dina Gunning. I work for the Central County Fire Department. I'm an emergency manager. I'm also the president of your San Mateo County Emergency Managers Association. And I'd like to just take a couple of seconds to help bridge the gap. One of the things that really we should all be doing is fostering the relationship between your emergency managers, and we have a lot of different titles, and making sure that you are connecting with those folks. We are your single points of contact for a lot of these things, whether it's alert and warning training, making sure that we're getting messaging done properly, that we're getting training. And we've been working very closely with emergency management in the county here, and working with Dr. Sutton in the delivery of these messages. So I just recommend that. I know my council's here. I know who my emergency services council representatives are. Last month was Emergency Management Awareness Month. So please take the time and get to know those of us that are working for you. We can help answer a lot of these questions. And that is exactly what we do, is we train with county emergency management on delivering these messages. Most of us write your emergency operations plans, and we test these plans. So please reach out to us. We all meet bi-monthly now, and we discuss all of these things at our Emergency Managers Association meetings, and we're happy to answer any questions. So please do reach out to us, because we can help educate not only our public, but all of us, because it is all of our responsibility, and we have to serve our whole community. So making sure that we're doing things in all of the different languages, we're doing the outreach and education, and that is our biggest concern and our biggest task, is to do that public outreach and education on a regular basis. But yes, knowledge is power, timeliness is everything, and we want to get it right. So sometimes it does take us a bit, but yes, in your case, and Grace is
Time.
is the wireless emergency alert systems. So yeah,
Thank you,
thank you, and making sure you subscribe to the alerts.
thank you.
Thank you.
If there are no other questions, sorry, Shruti, did you? I think there. Other people on?
Is there?
Is there Zoom?
It's nothing.
No. It's right here.
I can't see the screen, so. Okay,
There's a hand raised on.
Anna Schneider is just.
Ann Schneider.
Hi, thank you. Ann Schneider, former mayor, City of Millbrae, 9-year member of this former member of this emergency council. I have two questions. One, and I know this was before COVID, we were part of the counties that were going to do the automatic registering everybody we could into the alert. What's the status of that? And two, what is the status for Millbrae and Mayor Medina, also San Bruno, where we're getting chemical exposures from SFO that come over 101 and into our neighborhoods. And I have never gotten, and they've actually come in and inundated my house, never gotten an alert from SFO about chemical spills, most likely fuel spills. But how is that coordinating with SFO? And if SFO chooses to evacuate, it is greatly going to impact especially Millbrae and San Bruno, but also Burlingame and South City. What is the communication and what's working on that area? Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. And I don't know, staff, if you're ready to answer that, or would you probably prefer to follow up? Looking at where this answer is going to come from.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we cannot we don't have a list of everyone that lives in the county, and we cannot just register them. We have looked into this option. We could potentially buy some lists. It would give us, we checked with our vendor, it would give us 10% increase, but a lot of policy and a lot of privacy, types of things need to happen for that to happen. I think the best option is to get everyone signed up for SMC Alert. We know that in a case of an emergency, we would be using the IPAW system, which is the Integrated Public Alerting System, which not only is a wireless emergency alert, but also that band that comes on your TV saying there is an emergency, there is an earthquake, and the radio channels, so it gets publicized everywhere. And that is the emergency alert system. And to the second comment with SFO has, as we partner with SFO and their emergency management, I can bring this up to them. Previous conversations I've had, have basically, they've basically said that they don't see this as something that's happening to the public at wide. So when they have their processes, so I don't know what additional information I can gather, but I can broach SFO emergency management again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that was all of the public comment as well. So this was just an information item. Ms. Jeanette Sutton, thank you so much for your expertise in coming in, presenting to us today. We really appreciate it. This was very helpful. As you can tell, there was a lot of dialogue. So this is something that's important to all of us to make sure that we get it right. We can't practice in a state of an emergency. We want to make sure that information is going to be shared effectively. One other thing, with that, we'll move to item 9, the report outs and related emergency service council. I want to make sure that when Mayor Barragan from East Palo Alto came in, the door was locked and she was knocking on the door for a while. So we have meetings. Can we make sure somebody is monitoring the front door so we're not turning council members away?
Absolutely.
I apologize. I was coming from my school site council.
Apologies for that.
Now, when it's a public meeting, it should be really available, to the public as well. So that's something we used to handle in East Palo Alto. Are there any comments or report outs, other report outs? Do you have anything? All right. The time is,
Sorry, through the chair.
yes.
I will just bring something up just because I got it through my city manager, and I think it proves the conversation, and also perhaps at a future meeting, I was informed that today, South San Francisco Police with other fire departments, including Daly City, Redwood City, South City, San Bruno, the US Coast Guard, performed a full-scale simulated emergency response rehearsal, I guess, of if a plane crash would have landed there. I would appreciate if we could get maybe lessons learned or what was good, so that this council could also be briefed, and also whenever things like that, so that we're all kind of in the know, right? Because this is really important. We're talking about prevention, right? And this is great that these agencies are doing it. So that's
Yes, we were there at this exercise.
Okay, great.
And so we are happy to provide a report out.
I even saw Dave's bloody knees.
Thank you, Warren.
Through the chair, I just wanted to dovetail on that and also notice, pay recognition to Central County Fire Department, who also participated in the event this morning as well.
Right, thank you. Looking around the table. Well, you know what? The time is 6:54. We are gonna actually end on time. This meeting is adjourned.